back. We are now on to our expert segment. Today we'll approach your property related disputes from both the legal and the financial perspective. We have with us Harsh Rungta, CEO apnapaisa.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Our first question comes in from Deepak Shah. He wrote us this email. He wants to know, he says he booked a 2 BHK in Ahmedabad with the Shukan Group. He paid 40% of the total cost. The project is completed about 70%, 30% remains. The expected completion was November 2014. Now, his developer has gone into financial trouble. The developer is not paying the project loan installments to the bank. There have been many cheating cases against this builder who is in police custody. The bank has also filed a case in the Debt Recovery Tribunal. Ownership of unclaimed flats being given to the bank against the dues. This is one of the orders of the Debt Recovery Tribunal. And the bank has also called out for bids to complete the project by some external agencies. He wants to know, how does this development impact him? Mr. Rungta, what Deepak has experienced, any other home buyer cannot anticipate or plan for such eventuality. How do you see this complexity, this issue? What can he do?
So I think very clearly this case demonstrates all that is wrong with the real estate sector in India. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. Probably there are multiple sales of the same flat as well. And I think what Vinay just said, we have regulation on the anvil. In Maharashtra, for example, draft regulations have been put out under the law, the housing regulation law that has already been passed and been approved by the president as well. Draft regulations have come out that at least on paper will allow the buyers to get together, and if the regulator determines that the developer is not going to be able to complete the project, then the buyers will have an ability to complete the project. The escrow account that Vinay spoke about, now all that at least on paper exists in the Maharashtra law. Let's see how it is finalized. Eventually the draft regulations will need to be finalized. More importantly, like most laws in India, how it will be implemented. So I think as far as Deepak is concerned, this law is not going to help him. First, it's in Maharashtra. Second, it's not yet applicable. There is a central law that is in the works, that has been that is there with the Rajya Sabha but still not approved. Presumably, I think over the next few years we will see this vital sector being regulated, and as the regulation becomes a little more mature, some of these issues will be resolved. Till then, I am afraid it goes with the territory. If you are buying under construction flats, delays and cost overruns are part of the territory. You will just have to take it into account.
So, Mr. Rungta, while we wait for a regulator to come in place pan-India at the center, would you say the current system in which a transaction happens between a buyer and a seller, a builder and a buyer, it's completely opaque? Financial transparency is going to be one of the key challenges that the regulator has to take on.
Oh, absolutely, because if you look at what is the redressal available to the buyer today, the only redressal he has are the consumer courts. Now, consumer courts have done a pretty good job on with developers. I mean, there are lots of decisions in which relief has been given to consumers with market value of the flats and things like that. So I think, but it takes time. Consumer courts can't act fast. So I think the delay, which is part of our judicial system, very clearly has a role, is not able to overcome those delays even in a fast track process like the consumer courts. So clearly we need regulators with even faster grievance redressal mechanisms. More importantly, a regulatory architecture in terms of all permissions being in place, they being registered, you can't sell, the money going into escrow. Now that's a regulatory architecture that needs to be put in place. It's coming slowly. I think it needs political will both at the center but more importantly at the state to make sure that this is implemented.
Right, okay. We have another question coming in from Dharmendra Bijrania. Dharmendra writes, he purchased a flat in Greater Noida in Amrapali Castle in 2010. He took a loan from HDFC Bank in a joint account with his wife. The bank had approved a loan of 14,94,000 and till now has disbursed about 5,92,000 till 2013. The builder has sent out a demand letter now for the remainder of the payments. The bank is now refusing to disburse the remaining amount. Why? The bank states that they will not service Sahara employees anymore. He's an employee with the Sahara's media group. The builder has now sent a possession letter, but he says he is unable to pay. Refusal to get a loan from another bank because 2 checks bounced. He does not know where to go. He's living on rent and he has a property to pay EMIs for. Mr. Rungta, his credit worthiness as an individual still remains no matter which company he works for. So this discretionary approach of banks, of lenders, how justified is that?
Let me start off by the banker's side, not necessarily something that I argue for, but the banker side is this, that if you are working with an employer whose prospects are as uncertain as this gentleman's employers are, then probably your salary may not come on time, and that means that your ability to repay the loan is going to be affected. And it is primarily to deal with issues like this that every loan agreement has what is called a recall clause, that if the bank feels that your credit is affected due to probably the type of employer, probably for any other reason, they have a right to say that please pay off our loan immediately, the full amount. That's called a right to recall. Clearly, that's not what the lender has done in this particular case, because moment they recall, and obviously most customers won't be able to pay it lump sum, the bank or the lender will have to classify it as a non-performing assets in its books. It wants to avoid that, but because it finds that the credit is impaired, they are nudging him. They would not have given this to him in writing. So the first thing that he must ensure is that he gets this refusal to disburse in writing, because that will enable him to open his options. I would say 2 things that he can do, practical things. The biggest weapon is social media. Please use social media, mount pressure at the highest echelon through of the lender, through Twitter, through Facebook. Get your friends, known people to help you with that. That might at least solve your problem. It will not solve the systemic problem, but it might solve this customer's problem. Your legal systems, the other practical approach is, there will be lots of lenders, especially in his case that the group that he works for itself as a housing finance company. Why doesn't take a housing loan from at least that company? They should logically be willing to give that loan, and therefore he can shift it and get his house, because this is a possession letter that the builder has given him. Even if the existing company's housing finance company is not giving, there will be other local lenders. Right. They may charge a little more interest, but right now I think his need is to get that loan and get possession of the house. So that's the practical aspect. Legal aspect, I think what is being done is clearly morally wrong. I don't think it is justified.
Okay, so Dharmendra, that's what you could probably consider. Get this in writing. If they're claiming that you're a Sahara employee and you can't get further service by the bank, get this in writing, and that could be a case for you to fight this further. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today for such eye-opening insights into what goes on into buying and selling a property.